Welcome to PT Dan's instructional videos. Today what we're going to be talking about is training splits. The reason why I want to be talking about this topic is because people have been asking me on a daily basis, I'm eating right, I'm training really hard, I'm getting good rest and recovery, my nutrition is great, what could possibly be going wrong? Why aren't I getting the gains? And then when I look at how often they're training each individual muscle, they're getting way too much rest and recovery. So what do I mean by that? Well, it's quite simple. Bodybuilders who weigh a massive amount, their muscle tissue is so large, when they train big muscle groups like quads and glutes, hey, it's going to take them 6 or 7 days to recover. So they need to train each individual muscle only once a week because it takes them the rest of the week to recover. But if you weigh 60, 70 kilo and you train your biggest muscle group in your body, such as your quads or your glutes, you're probably going to be recovered in 48 hours or 3 days maximum. And so every single week of your life, you're wasting 4 days because your muscles are recovered, they're ready to go, and you train them only once a week. So you need to think for yourself, how long does it take for me to recover? And if that's the case, well, bang, you've got to hit your muscle straight away as soon as it's finished recovering. So this is where we create training splits specifically for how long it takes for you to recover as an individual. That's what training splits are all about. So let's have a look at them. 2-day training split. That means you have just started training, you're smaller than what you would like to be, and therefore you can train your entire body in one hit and you're recovered in 48 hours. So what I suggest you do, Matt, is pretty smart. A lot of compound movements. Use multiple joints for multiple muscles, and therefore you don't have to train each individual muscle. You just go through the compound movements. Compound movements such as squats, deadlifts, bench press, seated rows, lat pull downs or chin-ups. By doing those exercises alone, you've pretty much done every single muscle in the entire body. Make sure you stick with the compound movements. Now, once you have done your exercise, you've had your rest and recovery, if you still haven't recovered yet, so if you need more time to recover, then you add an extra day into your programming. So now you advance from a 2-day training split to a 3-day training split. A 3-day training split is simply where you would exercise for 2 days and then take 1 day off. So 2 days on, 1 day off. That's your 3-day training split, and that's repeated over and over and over again. So in this case, what I suggest you do is train your lower body first, such as your legs and quads, where most of your energy will come from when you're nice and fresh from having your day off, and then go into your upper body workout the next day. Don't forget that the reason why we do legs first, if we can, especially in this case when there's only 2 days available for us, is because after you have trained legs, your body will produce a massive amount of natural hormone production, such as your growth hormone and testosterone. And that surges throughout your bloodstream and stays in your body for a number of days. So when you've trained your upper body the next day, you've still got that testosterone in your body, helping your body recover on that day and your day off. So doing legs before your upper body is a great way to go. So if you've done your 3-day training split, right, so you've gotten to your end of your 3rd day, and now it's time to train again, and you haven't recovered yet, now it's time to add an extra day into your recovery. So this is as you're getting bigger and bigger and bigger, you're breaking down more muscle tissue, which means you need to spend more time recovering. So you've now advanced from a 3-day training split to a 4-day training split. In this case, what you do is you do all your pushing actions in 1 day, so chest, triceps in day 1, then give your upper body a rest. Allow your nervous system of your upper body to have a rest. Go into your legs. So you do legs day 2, and then once you've gotten into day 2 and it's time for day 3, you come back up to your body, upper body, and your nervous system has had a rest. So now you get into your pulling actions, such as your back and your biceps. So that's your 3 days on, and now you've got your 1 day off. So 3 days on, 1 day off, and that's your 4 days, and it's repeated over and over again. So that's your 4-day training split. Of course, don't forget when you do back and biceps on day 3, you also need to incorporate your shoulders as well to have full development. Once you've gotten from there and you feel like, hey, I'm not recovering, I don't have enough recovery, I need to add an extra day in, you'll go to day 5. And this is where I've just started. So for somebody my size who's about 95 kilos lean, at 6'1", I'm looking at probably training 4 days on and 1 day off, and this is what I started only 3 weeks ago. So when you're training 4 days on, 1 day off, this is where I suggest you do. I suggest you do all your pushing actions on 1 day, such as your chest and triceps. Then you go back down to your legs and do your legs on day 2. You come back up to your upper body and do all your pulling actions, such as your back and biceps on day 3. Day 4 is left alone for shoulders, so you can get smack bang into your shoulders on day 4 for a really good development up there. That are what you need, because shoulders actually made up of 3 muscles. Your anterior front head, medial head, and your posterior head. So you can't just do, so you need actually more exercises for shoulders than your biceps, for example, which only run through 1 or 2 predominant movements. So then you've got your day 5 off, and then that is repeated over and over again. From here, this is where we start to get quite professional. So this is when you get up to a really fairly bigger size, where goes in a week program. So you train 5 days on and 2 days off in a row. So why do you need 2 days off in a row in this case, where every other program you've only had your 1 day off? That's because you train 5 days straight. Training 5 days straight is pretty intense. It's a pretty hard work. Not necessarily just for your body, but for motivation and inspiration as well. So giving your body 2 days off in a row is good for your nervous system and for motivation. Training 5 days in a row is pretty tough. So if you're going to train 5 days straight, this is what I suggest. Chest and triceps on day 1. Go back down to your lower body and you can do legs. Do your entire back in one action. And then you can come back and knock out buys and shoulders on your last days. But with a lot of research that's come in recently, this is a new type of program that really hasn't been used by many people, but it's been sworn by the biggest bodybuilders in history. So basically what they do here is they train chest alone on day 1, day 2 legs, day 3 back alone. Day 4 they do triceps and shoulders on one hit. And the reason why they do triceps and shoulders on one hit is because when you do actions such as a shoulder press, it also incorporates your triceps. So what they do is they do their triceps first. When training triceps first, you are pre-fatiguing your triceps, so that later on in your workout, when you start training shoulders and you're doing actions such as shoulder presses to start your shoulder workout, that muscle is pre-fatigued and it can't help. Therefore, your shoulders take a bigger pounding and they get much better workout. Day 5 is left alone for biceps in this case because it's your smallest muscle, so you can focus on just doing that. It's not a very big, intense workout. Therefore, you kind of have 2.5 days off with the same amount of work done. So when you have 2.5 days off, well, now you get more rest, more recovery, and you get to grow bigger and stronger. You're now more motivated to come into your first day workout on Monday and drill it even harder. This is what I do for my professional bodybuilders. I train a whole range of professional bodybuilders around the world. A handful of the top IFBB professional bodybuilders also use me as a consultant to chat with them about the latest sports research. So when I develop my professional bodybuilders, what I do is this. Each individual muscle is equally and individually programmed throughout the month. So let's take 2 classic examples here. Let's take one of the biggest muscles and one of the smallest muscles. Let's start with the biggest, your glutes and quads. When your glutes and quads are smashed completely, it takes probably about 6 or 7 days to recover. So in their calendar, we'll say today we're training legs and quads. Now let's look 7 days ahead. This is when you're going to train them again. 7 days ahead, this is when you're going to train them again. So you know specifically what days you're just training legs. And then what we do is we have a look at how long it takes biceps to recover. So biceps might take 2 or 3 days to recover. So say, all right, today we're going to be training biceps. 3 days ahead, that's when you're going to be training them again. 3 days ahead, that's when you're going to be training them. And we individually program individual muscles. Of course, once we've written it out, we now have to reorder little bits and pieces that don't contradict each other. So we can't be training legs and send all your blood to your lower body in one day, and then on the same day happen to be training biceps, so send blood to a completely different part of your body. Or trying to train two opposite muscles, agonist and antagonist muscles, that don't match together. So we've got to play around little bits and pieces, but we try our very best to individually program individual muscles. And that's the extent we've got to go through to make the top 1% of humanity the biggest people in history. So that's the type of things we've got to go through when doing our professional training programs for one another. So, to wrap it up, I guess it just depends on what training split you go for. Will depend on how big you are and how hard you work, and most importantly, whether you recover in enough time. But hey, at the end of the day, if you're training once a week, a muscle once a week, but it takes you 2 days to recover, you just wasted 4 days of your week for every week for the rest of your life. So why waste time for? As soon as that muscle is recovered, bang, get into it again. You know, that's what I strongly suggest to do. Therefore, you don't waste any time, and you'll get the best results you can.